Amidst a large family gathering at a quaint countryside estate, I, Clara, a gentle and soft-spoken daughter-in-law, found myself thrust into the center of a family drama. As the family was clearing the table after a festive meal, my mother-in-law, Isabel, abruptly placed a stack of papers in front of me, urging me to sign a 200,000 euros loan agreement for the sake of the family. 2 days later, a bank representative arrived at our door. A series of pressing text messages and a recorded conversation, played aloud in the living room, brought the entire family to a standstill. The truth was laid bare, forcing those who once held power to concede. This is a story of ambition and control, of a legal battle that turned the tables, and of the fight for boundaries and justice. I am Clara, and I've just turned 30. It has been 5 years since I married into this family. 5 years, a period long enough to understand the intricacies of each family member, and to realize that being a daughter-in-law is not just about domestic duties, but a journey of patience and maintaining appearances. I vividly remember our wedding day. After the reception, as my husband Leo and I were given wedding gifts and cash from relatives, Isabel swiftly collected them. With a gentle smile, she said, "Let me keep these for you. Young couples can be spendthrift. When you need to buy a house or start a business, you can have them back." I was naive and trusted her completely, but over the past 5 years I have never seen that money or the gifts again. I never dared to ask, telling myself that questioning my mother-in-law about finances would be improper. That afternoon, a light rain began to fall. As I was quietly polishing the silver, I overheard Isabel on the phone in the living room. Her voice was low, but a few words caught my attention. Debt, bank, quick settlement. A sense of unease washed over me. Sophie, my sister-in-law, walked past, giving me a disdainful look. "Don't eavesdrop on adult conversations. Just focus on being a good wife." I didn't respond, continuing with my task, but her words, and my mother-in-law's, were etched in my mind. That evening, the family gathered for dinner. The table was laden with delicious food, but the atmosphere was tense. Isabel skillfully steered the conversation. We must support each other. The most important thing in life is to maintain our family's reputation and avoid being the subject of gossip. She glanced at me, her eyes a mixture of a reminder and a warning. I remained silent, my heart pounding. I knew her words were not coincidental. My father-in-law, Arthur, a man who valued the family's honor above all else, ate in silence. My husband Leo was as passive as ever, avoiding any involvement in the unfolding drama. It was clear that I was being cornered. Later that night, as I was putting our son to bed, there was a soft knock on the door. It was Isabel. With her arms crossed, she said firmly, "Come to the main house early tomorrow. We have something important to discuss." "What is it, Mother?" I asked, startled. "We'll talk tomorrow," she replied curtly. "Don't create any disruptions." The next morning, I arrived at the main house as instructed. In the living room, Isabel, dressed in a simple navy blouse, greeted me with a faint smile and invited me to the tea table. Julian, my brother-in-law, was already there, his gaze fixed on the floor. Leo arrived shortly after, his face tense. The air was heavy with unspoken words. Isabel began by talking about the family's history, the hardships they had overcome, and the importance of unity and reputation. Finally, she produced a thick envelope and placed it in front of me. "Have a look at this. The family is in a tight spot financially and needs to secure a loan. The bank requires a family member's signature to expedite the process." I looked at Leo, but he avoided my gaze. Julian remained silent. I opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. My name was already typed in the borrower section. I swallowed hard, trying to remain calm as I read. "You just need to sign on behalf of the family," Isabel said in a steady voice. "It's a temporary arrangement. Once this is over, we'll settle the loan. The family is counting on you. Sign it, and let's put this behind us. Don't let outsiders know." Her voice was soft but sharp. I was torn. Should I agree to maintain peace, or should I stand my ground and demand clarity? I scanned another page, and a number jumped out at me. €200,000. The ink seemed to mock me. My hand trembled slightly. "Are you scared by the amount?" Isabel asked with a gentle but firm smile. "This is a family matter. One signature is all it takes. You understand the importance of our family's reputation, don't you?" "I need to read the terms and conditions carefully," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "This is a family matter. There's no need for legal formalities," she dismissed. "Family members have always helped each other out. If you don't sign soon, the bank will create problems." "Why is my name already on the document?" I asked. "Because you are part of this family. Your signature will make things smoother," she replied. Leo finally spoke up, tentatively asking his mother to let me review the documents, but his voice trailed off. I felt utterly alone. I turned to the page on liability and commitment. The bold print detailed the repayment obligations, interest rates, and collateral. My name stood alone, without Leo's. A chill ran down my spine. "Sign it and be done with it," Isabel urged, pushing a pen towards me. "So the neighbors don't have to hear about our family's problems. People will say the daughter-in-law of this house is ungrateful." I put the pen down. "I will read everything thoroughly and sign before the gathering if everything is clear," I stated. My father-in-law cleared his throat and said, "Let her read it." Julian shifted in his seat, still avoiding my eyes. I placed the papers back in the envelope, clutching it like a ticking bomb. "Don't take the papers out of the house, and don't discuss this with anyone," Isabel warned. "Sign it, and I'll consider returning your wedding gifts when the family's finances are stable." The mention of my wedding gifts felt like a noose tightening around my neck. I stood up and asked to be excused. Sophie, who had been lingering nearby, sneered, "Just sign it. Don't make a fuss and embarrass the whole family." I stepped out onto the veranda. The rain had stopped, and the damp air felt heavy. I held the envelope tightly, my heart pounding. But amidst the fear, I remembered Mr. Dubois, a lawyer friend of my cousin who had helped me with some paperwork before. Perhaps he could shed some light on this. This wasn't just about a signature. It was about my future and my son's. "I will take this with me and bring it back tomorrow after I've read it carefully. I promise I will sign it before the main event," I told Isabel. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Don't let anyone else see it," she warned one last time. I clutched the envelope and walked away, the weight of the secret heavy in my hands. I knew I had a choice to make, and with the help of Mr. Dubois, I hoped to find a way out of this predicament. That evening, in the small apartment Leo and I shared, I carefully laid out the documents on the table. The dim light cast long shadows on the walls. Our son was fast asleep, his small face peaceful. I stroked his hair, vowing to protect him from the storm that was brewing. I took pictures of each page, zooming in to read every clause. The dense legal text about repayment obligations, interest rates, and collateral made my blood run cold. Leo approached me, his voice soft. "It's just a formality. Just sign it so we can avoid any trouble." "Have you read this?" I asked, exhausted. "My name is the only one on it. If something goes wrong, who will be responsible?" Leo fell silent, looking helpless. He always avoided confrontation, wanting me to comply for the sake of peace. I turned back to the documents. A clause in bold stated that large loans required the co-signature of a spouse or clear collateral. Here, my name stood alone. I searched online for legal requirements for loan agreements. I discovered that a contract might be invalid without the spouse's consent. A glimmer of hope appeared. I found Mr. Dubois's number and sent him a message. "I have an urgent matter. Can I bring some documents to you tomorrow?" He replied within minutes. "Come by, but don't sign anything before you see me." My heart pounded with a mix of fear and relief. I saved the pictures of the documents in a password, protected folder. Leo sighed. "You're going to make Mother angry." "If I sign this blindly, we'll be in debt for the rest of our lives," I retorted. He didn't say anything more. Later that night, Mr. Dubois called. "From what you've described, the contract has loopholes. Bring the copies tomorrow. And whatever you do, do not sign." His confident tone gave me strength. Before going to bed, I sent a message to Isabel. "I'm reviewing the documents carefully. I'll sign them tomorrow to ensure everything is in order. I knew this would pacify her, but for me it was a shield for the plan I was beginning to form. I lay down next to my son, the sound of the rain outside a steady rhythm. Amidst my fear, a small ray of hope had emerged. I had found a legal lever, a key that could save me from the trap of a single signature. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Dubois' office with the pictures of the loan agreement. The small office was filled with books and the aroma of fresh coffee. I recounted the whole story, from the family gathering to the pressure from my mother-in-law to sign the papers to save face. He listened attentively, occasionally jotting down notes. "Here it is," he said, pointing to the screen. "A large loan with only your signature, without your husband's. This contract lacks the required co-signature and has no clear collateral. It's a huge risk for the bank, but that's also its weakness. If you don't sign, they can't legally bind you." I breathed a sigh of relief. "I'm afraid of being ostracized by the family, of being called selfish," I confessed. "You need evidence," Mr. Dubois advised. "Words are not enough. If you can record any conversations where you are being coerced, that would be your key. It's legal as long as you are part of the conversation, and keep the original unedited file." He continued, "Your strategy now is to pretend to agree. Let your mother-in-law think you will sign, but don't. Find excuses to hold on to the original document. Say you need to get it notarized. This will buy you time and give you more opportunities to gather evidence, and be discreet. If they suspect anything, it will be much harder." His words gave me a clear path forward. I thought of my Aunt Helene, a respected and impartial relative. Perhaps she could be a witness. Mr. Dubois agreed. "A witness from within the family would strengthen your case. But don't reveal your whole plan to her. Just let her witness certain key moments." I left his office feeling a sense of empowerment. I opened the voice recorder app on my phone and did a quick test. The soft click of the record button was like a silent promise to myself. I had a weapon now, a way to protect myself. I returned to the main house. The preparations for the main family event were in full swing. The air was filled with the scent of roasted meat and freshly baked bread. My mother-in-law greeted me with a smile. "The guests will be arriving soon. Let's make sure everything is in order." I found a quiet corner in the living room and discreetly started the voice recorder on my phone, leaving it in my bag. Isabel sat down opposite me. "Have you thought it over?" she asked. I nodded. "I will sign for the sake of the family's peace." A look of relief washed over her face. "But," I added casually, "I need a copy to take to the town hall to have my signature officially verified. We wouldn't want any procedural errors to reflect badly on the family." I used her own emphasis on appearances to my advantage. She hesitated for a second, then agreed. "Just don't make a scene." I asked for the documents to make a copy at the shop down the road. Just then, my Aunt Helene arrived. I greeted her and quietly asked her to witness a small matter of paperwork to avoid any future confusion. She, being a fair and respected member of the family, agreed. Back at the table, Isabel handed me the papers and a pen, urging me to sign. I gently shook my head. The town hall requires a comparison between the original and the copy, along with my ID. Signing it here might not be valid. My excuse was plausible enough. To be sure, I added, "I'll read out my name and ID number from the document in front of Aunt Helene." I read each detail slowly and clearly, for my own memory and for the recording. The room fell silent. Aunt Helene nodded, confirming that Isabel had given me the documents to be photocopied. At the copy shop, I made 2 copies, one for the town hall and one for my records. I immediately sent a picture of the clear copy to Mr. Dubois. His reply was brief. "Stay calm. Don't sign anything today." When I returned, the house was buzzing with guests. Sophie cornered me. "Hurry up. The bank is waiting. Don't mess things up." I smiled and said, "It's almost done." I placed the documents on the table, inviting my mother-in-law and Aunt Helene to sit. I showed them the 2 copies and suggested we note down the date and time of the handover. Aunt Helene signed as a witness, and after a moment's hesitation, Isabel initialed it. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "Sign it today or the bank will pull out. The responsibility will be on you." I took a screenshot and saved it. I excused myself to help in the kitchen, trying to act as the dutiful daughter-in-law. That evening, after the guests had left, I sat in the living room, organizing the documents. I remembered Mr. Dubois' advice to stay calm and let others reveal themselves. Aunt Helene came over and asked if I was having any trouble. I confided in her partially, saying I just wanted to ensure all the paperwork was in order to avoid any embarrassment for the family. Her simple words of support were a great comfort. I sent the complete set of pictures to Mr. Dubois. He replied, noting that the application seemed to have been submitted by my brother-in-law, Julian, based on an internal note on one of the pages. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. Later, I received a call from an unknown number, followed by a text. "This is Mr. Martel from the bank, handling your family's loan application. I would like to schedule a meeting." I replied politely, suggesting we meet at the main house so everyone could be present. He agreed to come in 2 days, at 8 a.m. I screenshotted the exchange and forwarded it to Mr. Dubois. Aunt Helene, who was still with me, promised to be there as well. The stage was set. On Monday morning, at 8 a.m. sharp, Mr. Martel, a polite man from the bank, arrived with a colleague. The living room was filled with family members. Isabel looked tense. Aunt Helene sat quietly in a corner, and Leo stood anxiously by the door. Mr. Martel explained that the meeting was a final verification step. He asked if I was the one named in the loan agreement. I confirmed but requested a clarification on the obligations and the co-signature clause. Isabel interjected, "Just sign it today. The bank can be flexible with the procedures." Mr. Martel smiled politely. "The bank must adhere to regulations, especially with large loans. I will read out some key clauses to ensure everyone understands." He read through the sections on repayment, penalties, and collateral. When he got to the co-signature part, I asked for more details. "For a loan of this amount," he explained, "if the applicant is married, the spouse's signature is required, or there must be valid collateral in the applicant's name." His words were clear and direct. Isabel insisted that the family had agreed I would sign, but Aunt Helene gently pointed out that bypassing regulations could lead to future complications. Mr. Martel then pointed to the signature page. My name was typed, but the space for Leo's signature was empty. "As it stands," his colleague added, "this application cannot be processed for disbursement." A relative asked, "So if he signs, it's all good?" "Not quite," Mr. Martel replied. "We also need to verify the collateral, the purpose of the loan, and most importantly, the voluntary consent of the signatory." He emphasized the word voluntary. I thanked him and reiterated that I had not yet officially agreed to anything. Isabel's gaze hardened. "Mr. Martel suggested the family take some time to sort out the necessary signatures and reconsider their options." Just as the bank representatives were about to leave, Isabel turned to Leo. "Sign it now," she commanded. The room tensed. Leo looked at me, then at his father, utterly lost. "Let's postpone the signing until this afternoon," I suggested, my voice steady. "It's best to have everyone involved present to avoid any misunderstandings. For the sake of the family's reputation," I added, using my mother-in-law's favorite phrase, "it's better to do things properly." My father-in-law agreed. "Let's meet at 5 p.m. and settle this." I sent a message to Mr. Martel, informing him of the 5 p.m. meeting and inviting him to join if needed. I also alerted Mr. Dubois, asking him to be available by phone. Then, I prepared myself. I organized the copies of the contract, my personal expense records, and the audio recordings. Each file was named and dated. Every action was a deliberate step to fortify my position. At 5 p.m., the family gathered again. The atmosphere was thick with tension. My mother-in-law began, her voice firm. "We have a serious matter to resolve. The daughter-in-law needs to sign immediately to protect our family's reputation." "I understand the need to protect the family's reputation," I said calmly, "but I have a simple question. Why is the daughter-in-law's signature required and not the husband's? The question hung in the air. Isabel tried to deflect, saying it was a matter of convenience. But convenience shouldn't come at the cost of legality, I countered. The person who signs bears the responsibility. I suggested we call Mr. Martel to clarify the legal requirements for everyone. Reluctantly, Isabel agreed. When I called, Mr. Martel, who was nearby, offered to come over again. When he arrived, he reiterated the bank's policy, the need for a spouse's co-signature or valid collateral, and the absolute necessity of voluntary consent. He also confirmed that the application was indeed filed by Julian. The silence in the room was deafening. Isabel's composure began to crumble. She again pressured Leo to sign, but he hesitated, looking at me. The application is incomplete, Mr. Martel stated firmly. As it stands, we cannot proceed. At that moment, I knew I had to reveal my evidence. I took out my phone and showed everyone the series of pressing text messages from Sophie. Then, I played the recordings. The conversation where my mother-in-law urged me to sign and not tell anyone, and the discussion where I requested a copy of the documents in front of Aunt Helene. The final recording was of Isabel pressuring me just a few hours earlier, with my calm response about doing things correctly. The truth was undeniable. My father-in-law finally spoke, his voice filled with disappointment. "This stops now," he declared. "We will not use our reputation to force anyone into a corner. Julian, you will deal with this yourself. Do not involve anyone else." He then turned to Leo and asked, "What do you say?" Leo looked at me, and then, with a newfound resolve, he said, "I will not sign. I stand with my wife." The words were quiet but powerful. Isabel looked defeated, slumping in her chair. "What will people say?" she whispered. "It's better they know the truth than for us to live with a lie," my father-in-law replied. After the tense meeting, my father-in-law called me outside. "I apologize for letting this go so far," he said. "From now on, this family will operate with transparency. No one will use reputation as a weapon." He then led me to his study and took out a velvet pouch from the safe. "These are your wedding gifts," he said, placing them on the table. It was wrong to keep them for so long. He had even prepared a written acknowledgement of their return, which he, Leo, and Aunt Helene signed. A week later, Leo approached me in the kitchen. "I'm sorry for my silence," he said. "I was wrong not to stand by you sooner." I told him I needed more than an apology. I needed a new way of living, one based on transparency and mutual respect. We agreed on a set of rules for our finances and for dealing with family matters, writing them down and posting them on our kitchen cabinet as a constant reminder. That evening, we visited my in-laws. We thanked my father-in-law for his intervention and for returning the gifts. We also reiterated our boundary. We would not be financially or legally responsible for Julian's actions. The next morning, I visited my mother-in-law. She was sitting by the window, looking frail. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I pushed you too far." I told her that I was still her daughter-in-law, but things had to change. I would be respectful, but I would not be a pawn. We talked for a while, not about money or legal matters, but about our family, about my son. A new, fragile understanding began to form between us. As I left, Leo was waiting for me. He took my hand, and we walked home in comfortable silence. The storm had passed. The sky above seemed clearer, brighter. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but now we had a foundation of honesty and clear boundaries. And I had learned that true peace comes not from silent endurance, but from speaking the truth and standing up for what is right.